To stay on top in FPL, it is key that we think ahead in FPL. And in today's video, I am going to take you through my most transferred players in FPL for game week 12. And I'm going to show you the changes I've made to my maybe sell, keep, or monitor players list. What's up FPL gaffers, welcome back to my channel for another FPL video. This is thinking ahead in FPL. It is finally good to be back after an international break. I have been off FPL completely, haven't even touched the game until yesterday where I had to prepare for this video. In this video, I'm going to take you through the most transferred players in for game week 12, and I'm going to show you the changes I've made to my keep, sell, monitor, or maybe sell slides. Now, in today's video, the first most transferred player. Before we get to the most transferred players in, if you guys have done anything fancy and you would like to share with the community, please leave it down in the comments on what you did in your international break. If there's anything fancy that you did, anything that you liked, please put it down in the comments. Now, to take you through the most transferred players in FPL, on the top of the rank here is Mbeumo, and he is transferred in 322,443 transfers in ahead of game week 12. I think Mbeumo is a very good pick before he goes to the African Cup of Nations. So it is the right time to get Mbeumo in this game week rather than leave it for a little later where it's too late and then you have Mbeumo only for 2 weeks before he goes to the African Cup of Nations. Now, Mbeumo has risen also in price since the last time we played FPL. He is now at 8.5 million in the game, and his ownership is also gone up to 32.8% in the game. Of course, he's not as highly owned as Erling Haaland or someone like João Pedro or someone like Gabriel, but if you are chasing now for rank or if you're chasing any points, your opponents do not have Mbeumo, I think it is key to get in Mbeumo, especially with the fixtures that Mbeumo has and the ownership percent that can be a factor in you gaining those points over the other FPL gaffers. Now, if you see Mbeumo's XG per 90, it is at 0.31 and his expected assists per 90 is at 0.24 as a midfielder. His goals per 90 is 0.47 and his assists per 90 is 0.09. Now, if you look at this stat, Mbeumo has slightly been overperforming the data. So if you would like to get him, I think it is a good option for this game week, especially with the fixtures coming in ahead for Manchester United. It is Everton at home, Crystal Palace away, West Ham at home, Wolves away, Bournemouth at home, and Aston Villa away. So Mbeumo should be at the top of your list if you are looking to either wildcard or if you have spare free transfers. I wouldn't suggest getting in Mbeumo for a hit that is a -4, but if you have free transfers and you're looking to make changes in your team or if you are dealing with any injuries, then Mbeumo is the man you want in your team up until at least he goes to the African Cup of Nations. Now, in second, the most transferred in for game week 12 is Igor Thiago of Brentford, and he's got about 257,638 transfers in ahead of game week 12. Now, with Igor Thiago, he is a good option, is very, I wouldn't say very, but is slightly cheaper than the other options at 6.3 million and ownership of 11% in the game. Igor Thiago is basically a hidden gem that if you want to get him in your team, again, like I said with Brian Mbeumo, if you want someone cheap in your team, I think Igor Thiago fits in very well into this team. Even though if you have someone like a Mateta in your team, who I'm going to talk about next, still Igor Thiago is a good differential if you want to catch up, especially now that we're going to start playing for rank ahead of game week 15, 16. I think it is key to have Igor Thiago in your FPL teams ahead of game week 12. Now, XG per 90 for Igor Thiago is 0.55 and XA, which is expected assists per 90, is 0.02. The goals per 90 for Igor Thiago is 0.78 and his assists per 90 is 0.00. Now, if you again look at this stat, Igor Thiago is in fact overperforming his data. And if you are someone who is now at the bottom, wants to chase, gain some more points, have a differential pick in your FPL squads with 11% ownership, Igor Thiago is your man. He did get me a lot of points in the last 2 or 3 game weeks. I benched him for 1 game week where he blanked. But if you are planning to play FPL like me, rotate players in and out of the squads, then Igor Thiago is the perfect replacement or perfect pick in your team. With the fixtures, it is again a long-term pick for Igor Thiago. He is a good long-term pick. So his fixtures are Brighton away, Burnley at home, Arsenal and Tottenham away, Leeds at home, and Wolves away. Now, taking you to my next pick, it is Jean-Philippe Mateta. I expected him already to be highly transferred in. He is third on the list, which means he is still getting transferred into FPL teams. So Jean-Philippe Mateta has the transfers of 178,033 transfers in ahead of game week 12. Jean-Philippe Mateta, again, a good option for Crystal Palace. Anything Crystal Palace does come through Mateta or Ismail Assar, of course. But if you look at big chances involvement from Mateta, he is getting those chances. Whether he finishes those chances is a different question, but he is improving as I see in the Premier League. And he is priced at 8.1 million now. Again, increased in price since the last time we played FPL, and ownership of 29.2%. If you look at Jean-Philippe Mateta's XG per 90, it is 0.05. Expected assists per 90 is 0.06. Goals per 90 is 0.56 and assists per 90 is 0.0. In this stat, we can see that Jean-Philippe Mateta is slightly underperforming his data, but I think with the fixtures that Crystal Palace have, of course, they're going to be playing in the Conference League and the Premier League now. No more international breaks, at least until the next year. So Jean-Philippe Mateta, a good option long term, has Wolves away this game week in game week 12, Man United at home in 13, Burnley away in 14, Fulham away in 15, Man City at home in 16, and Leeds United away in 17. If you do not have Jean-Philippe Mateta, I would highly recommend you to get him in your team, as he is now getting to the ownership level where if he does something in FPL, he is going to damage your ranks. My next player to have the most transfers in is Jeremy Doku of Man City. Jeremy Doku now is priced at 6.4 million, a good option, ownership very low of 5.6. His expected goals per 90 is 0.15, expected assists per 90 is 0.29, goals per 90 is 0.14, and assists per 90 is 0.58. Now, with Jeremy Doku is a cheap option, a good differential, but he does play for Man City, and I am always worried about picking Manchester City players. If it's not someone like Erling Haaland or someone like Donnarumma, I always hesitate with Man City players, especially because of Pep Roulette. You never know when Pep's going to bench a player, and in that week, if you needed that player to play and make some points, he's there sitting on the bench. So I personally would not go to any Man City players other than Erling Haaland or Donnarumma, who are sure to start in that Man City squad no matter the reason. With Jeremy Doku, there are chances of him being subbed early or him not starting a game, especially because they've got competition on that in that position where Jeremy Doku plays. Mamush can play, Phil Foden can play there. So at this rate, I would consider him, but not fully commit into getting Jeremy Doku in your teams, although he has overperformed his assist uh, data, slightly underperforming the goals data. But Jeremy Doku, when you see him play, he is a live wire down that left wing. So if you're feeling bold and you're still chasing, like I say, please try and get in Jeremy Doku for the remaining fixtures, as it is Newcastle away, Leeds at home, Fulham away, Sunderland at home, Crystal Palace away, and West Ham United at home. The fixtures are really good for Man City. The only doubt that I have with Man City players is they get rotated when you least expect them. Now, my next player to be highly again transferred in is Declan Rice. He is the last player to be the most transferred in the top 5 ahead of game week 12, and he has got 128,914 transfers in ahead of game week 12. So Declan Rice plays for Arsenal. A lot of you must have the double Arsenal defense and Saka or Gyökeres. But if you're looking at a cheaper option to have those Arsenal assets, 6.9 million for Declan Rice, ownership of 20.7%, is getting very popular in the game, Declan Rice. But also, if you look at the data that he is performing at, his XG per 90 is 0.12, expected assists per 90 is 0.24, his actual goals per 90 is 0.20, and assists per 90 is 0.40. Here you can see Declan Rice has been overperforming his expected goals and expected assist data. So I'm not sure how long this is going to continue. Only Declan Rice himself can answer that. But if you're looking to get Declan Rice into your team, I think as a differential as well, I could recommend going for Declan Rice. But you have to be prepared that if he starts underperforming his data, you cannot be upset about this. So Declan Rice fixtures for the upcoming fixtures are Tottenham at home, Chelsea away, Brentford at home, Aston Villa away, Wolves at home, and Everton away. Not a bad pick again, like I said. I recommend if you're chasing, I would like to get him into my team, but I'm someone who plays FPL a bit more boring than you guys. I do like to take players who play the full 90 or who are on penalties. People like Igor Thiago, Mateta, Semenyo. Of course, Semenyo did miss, but I like players who are guaranteed to start, and of course the luxury of penalties in them. Now let me take you through my next bit in this video. It is the graph where the players are arranged like this into a priority cell, a maybe cell, a monitor, and a keep. So in the priority cell, if you see, I've got no one in this list for this game week. In the maybe cell, I've got someone like Kudus, who is like kind of yellow orangish flagged. Same with Gyökeres. At the end of the last game week, he was injured, came out at halftime. So if we do not get any news by Friday from Mikel Arteta or from Thomas Frank saying that Kudus and Gyökeres are fully fit to play the next match or will be involved in the squad, please, if you can, have a free transfer, please do not take any minuses if you can afford to bench these players and play your other players who are starting in the team. So in my monitor list, I have put Jean Pedro. Of course, he did score last game week, but still for the future, as he has is the fixtures are good, he wasn't taking any shots. I think Jean Pedro still needs to be monitored for this game week. In the other list, in the other positions, sorry, it is Mickey van der Ven of Tottenham. The fixtures are not getting better for Tottenham, and Pedro Porro as well, again of Tottenham. In the keep list, I've got the usual Erling Haaland. I would say for this game week, if you can, keep Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez in the absence of Cole Palmer, Enzo Fernandez on penalties. A good option for you to have to cover up those Chelsea players. Antoine Semenyo, of course, yes, he did miss the penalty, but he is someone who plays the full 90. At the moment, it is Gabriel Semenyo and Mark Gehi in my team that are yellow flagged. I will wait for the press conferences on Friday and then take a decision with what to do with those players. And my final player in the keep option is now Virgil van Dijk. If you haven't got rid of Virgil van Dijk up to now, I think it is a very good option to keep Virgil van Dijk in your team. Fixtures for Liverpool up to game week 19 are really good, so I would keep Virgil van Dijk in the team. That is all for today, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, if you've got this far, please help the channel by hitting a hat trick. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and share to as many FPL gaffers as you can. I will see you tomorrow with a wildcard draft. Peace.